Hello,
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Great. You can see me and hear me, right?
Yeah. You don't
Perfect.
expect me to open camera, right?
No, you don't have to. No, of course you can. That's up to you. Um, okay, I think everything's working fine, except one second. It's gonna make me big. I'm live right now. Just so you know,
Okay.
we're already live. And can you say something?
Hello.
Yeah, perfect. All right, I'm just gonna make you a little bit louder. Can you say something again?
Hello, hello.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Okay, cool, man.
Uh-huh.
Thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Maybe just for the record, we can just state again why we are talking and how we basically met. Um, I think we were talking in the Discord channel, Modern Day Debates Discord server, and
Mhm.
I was basically explaining to somebody else in the channel, in the voice channel, why I wanted to do something about incels. Something being like a series of interviews with all kinds of people that are somehow involved with the topic, as well as academics and reporters and social commentators. And yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. You said, yeah, what qualifies someone as an incel? Is that like uh, just not being involved with anyone for a long time? If so, then I would probably qualify. Do I remember correctly?
Yeah, I mean, like something along those lines. I could qualify in a tactical sense, but like I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel super distressed over the notion.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Mm,
um, I don't have any hatred towards any group or whatever. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I guess
I
that's
do not want to be associated with the term in that regard.
I understand that completely. Like, yeah, um,
But you
yeah,
wanted to chat, so I'm fine with chatting.
that's exactly like what I wanted to chat actually about. Like, we should maybe talk like probably most of our conversation is going to be around the topic, around the definition of the word, right? Because that
Hmm.
seems to be something that is important.
Okay.
Uh, so maybe we can give I can give some short context on what the word means, and then we can go into how you feel about the different contexts in
Hmm.
which this word appears. First of all, okay, we have the really strict, pure definition of just like not wishing to be celibate. So people that are in a monastery and have sworn to not have sex with anyone and who are voluntarily celibate do not count into this. Then we obviously have like a certain image that society has created. So there is through articles, social commentary, news, there is a certain image that we have about incels, but not only that, also through like sometimes conflict between public figures when they use the word as an insult. We also have a certain image that is being portrayed. And then, of course, we have incel as being part of or identifying as a member of a certain community. Uh, I know that also there in these communities, there's like hundreds of small communities. Um, but in general, we could still say that like there is a huge difference between someone who ticks maybe the first boxes that I've mentioned, and then somebody who's like involved in a certain community, be that like blackpill, looks maxing, or whatever that might be. And lastly, I have identified one more thing, but I'm not really sure about that one. Maybe you can help me there. Maybe part of the definition of an incel is also to subscribe to certain ideologies. You have already right away said I don't have any hatred towards anyone, nor in a emotional
Like
way.
I
Yeah.
might, even if I do, it's not going to be related to my
Okay.
sexual whatever,
All
you know.
right. All right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't think I do. Like off the top of my head, it doesn't come. But yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So why don't we just go directly into it? Let's start with the pure description. Like maybe you would like
yeah.
to
So I'll
tell.
just express my condition. It's
Mm-hmm.
just I am not a very particularly attractive person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in the sense of like I can't fix it. I think I can, but
Mm-hmm.
I have discipline issue. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like fatness is the problem. I don't think I'm ugly on my face, but I'm fat, and I don't have good discipline. Not only relating to eating habits and exercising, but also others outside of it too. Irrelevant to that. So I probably couldn't get a date or whatever. So I don't even seek it out. Right. I don't have that kind of uh, attempt. Even I'm not even making an attempt. Maybe if I did, there might be a slim chance I could get it, but it's like that's something I am also like interested right now. Like it seems like the discipline issue is more poignant to fix right now. So
Sorry,
that
say the
is
last one again. The last sentence. Can you repeat that?
like the discipline thing seems more emergency than like having a date kind of thing. I don't feel that huge pull towards being in a relationship, but if I could, I probably would be. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
would say.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Can I just ask how old you are? Like approximately, you don't have to give an exact age if you don't want
24.
to. 24. Okay. So you're
Mhm.
still pretty young, I would say.
Okay.
Uh, that was also like something that I think you asked. I'm not sure if you asked that or somebody else. Was if, what, or maybe I just said it by myself. But I think like in order for me to qualify someone as an incel to a certain degree, they would have to be older than a certain age. Like
Hmm.
I don't know what the threshold there is, but I don't think it makes any sense to talk about an 18-year-old or 19-year-old incel. That makes like absolutely no sense. Like there's, in my opinion,
Well, it
but
might
yeah,
not, but like I guess it might depend on where you live, right? Like so an 18 or 17, like where, like if
yeah,
your entire high school is having sex, whatever, like
yeah,
if your entire high school is in that kind of thing, and you're the odd one out there, you'll feel undesired probably.
yeah.
But
I mean, I'm a little older than you, not by much, but I'm like about 30, and I mean, in my time, we used to call that like somebody who's late a little bit, but like
mm,
I mean, we wouldn't say. I feel like incel is like really like something like a chronic condition to a certain extent, right?
hmm.
So in order for something to be chronic, in my opinion, like I've already said that in the call we had before. I mean, I've had periods in my life where I haven't been able to get laid for several reasons for
Hmm.
6 to 8 months. I wouldn't say that I was an incel during that time. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like that's
Yeah,
not really. I don't feel like that's how it works. Like at least culturally, right? So it is in the
hmm.
same sense. I wouldn't say like somebody who's like 18 is an incel because I don't feel like it has developed into a chronic issue yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
might
yeah.
start there. Might be the start of it.
I mean,
But mhm.
maybe. So, like, is incel like a condition or is it like a mental state? In my estimate, at least like my perception, is more like a mental state. So, if you're
Mhm.
already developing like a self hatred or like, what do you call it? Like, if you're already having those kind of emotional states because of like not being able to get laid and that is pressuring you in some manner, I think that would still probably, in some regard, qualify you as an incel, but I don't know. I'm not
Mhm.
like in too deep into the communities or whatever. Like, I have no clue who or
Yeah.
what like people would
Yeah, I
consider.
also don't think that there is like a fixed
Yeah,
definition or anything, but
definition. Yeah.
I would say like it's the incapability, like it's the lack of capability to make people want to sleep with you. That's why I would also consider like yeah, it's to make people want to be in a romantic relationship or be sexually involved with you. I think that's what we're mostly talking about. And
Mhm.
so yeah, okay, so can I ask how long, like are we talking about like being a virgin, or are we
Yeah.
talking about, okay. So it basically, you would say that it started when you were like 17, 18, and you were realizing that everybody else was like starting to engage in
Oh, if
these
you're
relationships.
asking me, like I don't have that kind of attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a like a negative attitude at all. It's just more like, oh, if I could, I probably would have partner. Like if I could, that
Mm-hmm.
that that is the extent of it. That what
Mm-hmm.
makes it incel like. But I don't feel like super left out in that regard. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, I'm probably very later than most people in this regard, but there are reasons for it that like I explained contained to my personal like personal discipline issues kind of thing. It seems like I can fix these, but I'm not doing it. It seems like another issue that is also contributing to not being able to get laid, kind of thing. But it's not like it's not like a huge thing that's bearing on my mind all the time. I would say like in that like definition, I wouldn't qualify. Um, yeah.
If you say it's not a big deal for you, I mean, it is for a lot of people, right? So
Hmm.
that's why we're basically talking, right? Because it's a big deal
Hmm.
for a lot of people. And I would even say for most people. Would you agree? Like, would you agree that you're probably in the minority when you are saying that you don't care that much?
Yeah, probably, but yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would say I'm the minority. I don't know any stats, and like I of course know that like it's a publicized thing. I can see that there are people who are upset over that, but besides that, I don't know like besides it could be a local minority thing, it could be a majority thing. I don't know.
Okay.
So
What would you say? What desire is basically? What would you say is the primary desire where you would say it is lacking with me, such that I'm not like pursuing and running after that goal to get laid? Like people go to the
maybe
craziest
it's some
extents.
kind of coping. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I consider it like not a priority right now. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like I have a another problem with discipline that
Mm-hmm.
contains also other like life problems. And if I can fix the discipline, I feel like every other thing, like especially
Will
this
just
element,
fall into
yeah,
place.
yeah. Even if it doesn't, at least I might have some tools to tackle it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, because I think like when people, I think one thing that people don't get about like most incels is that I don't think that the reason why they want to have why they want to change their situation is purely driven by sexuality. I think a lot of it is also like social validation, like or also like feeling validated as a person and as a human being. And so I don't think that like the sexual component is even the biggest one. Like um do
yeah.
you have like, because like there is some social pressure on especially on young men if they're single until a certain age, and I mean I'm 30 now and I'm not married, and my family is already asking, and so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there is a form of social pressure as well, like do you have your girlfriend? I think it starts at about like 16, or for me it started at like 15, 16, when my uncles or my cousins were like asking, older cousins were like asking, what about it, how do you have a girlfriend? And um I know that one of my cousins had was also a little bit later, and he was always pretty ashamed by these questions, and also felt bad
Hmm.
when he had to say no. Is that something that is plays that play does it play a role at all for you?
Um, that might play a role. Not on like I said, it doesn't bother me so much that particular thing, but similar things. yeah, definitely do bother me. Like I need to end every time I need to talk about people, maybe not about my relationships, but like similar topics that have social uh things. It does bother me to try and explain. Oh yeah, there's these things that are holding me back, or I just express it straightforwardly. Like, oh yeah, I do not have the discipline to lose weight and whatnot. Like blah blah blah. Like it seems like
Mm-hmm.
a like I need to I need to fix this, and they're like they tend to be understanding, but they seem to also be like disappointed whenever they hear stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What do you think this disappointment is?
I don't
Like
know.
in.
It seems like they have some expectations of like successful people, and I don't fall into that. So they cast some judgment, probably silently. But well, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't. I might not fall into that kind of like that kind of judgment of like a successful person because I'm lacking discipline, not having a relationship, whatnot. But
Mm-hmm.
like, uh, yeah, the priority lies in the fixing of the discipline. Like, that seems like the
Do you think you're
uh,
luck you're being fat makes you like is actually an advantage in that situation? Because I have dealt with being fat a lot in my
uh
life. Uh, when I was like 13, I was pretty overweight until I was like 15, 16. Then I went to the gym like crazy and lost all the weight. And then again with 19, I gained a lot of weight, more than ever before, and was really really fat for like, oh, pretty fat for like 2 years or something like that, and then I
mm,
lost it again. But yeah, when you get rejected and you're like, when you know that you're overweight, then you're like, yeah, I just have to go to the fucking gym. Like, I just have to
mhm,
lose it and then it will all be fine. And then once you lose it, it's like you get a lot of confidence from compliments and also from seeing yourself in the mirror and liking you a lot. And that also boosts like your ego and
mm. Well, I
but
wouldn't know.
yeah.
I've been fat for like at least the fatness has been constant for me. I never had a
Mm-hmm.
period where I lost it. So like I wouldn't. Um, I've been fat since when I was 15, so it's probably like approaching 9 years now, which
Mm-hmm.
is not great, but it is what it is. Like, yeah, like, um, not that fat at at first, but it grows, you know, like whatever. And currently, like, yeah, like if I lost it, it might give me confidence. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't judge it without doing it, you know. So I can say, oh yeah, if I lost my weight, that would give me a benefit. That would give it like not. It probably would give me a benefit in looks, but like I don't know if that would be a advantage in that. Oh yeah, I can get. I could definitely get confidence if I lost my weight. I don't know, but I hope so. That
I mean,
might.
it won't solve all
Just,
your problems, obviously. Like,
of course, of course.
I
Yeah.
realized after I lost weight, I realized that that I had like psychological problems that would even leading me to being fat. Like, so and then where I started like smoking like crazy and drinking more than I should and stuff like that. So it doesn't fix your whole life, but it can give you a small boost, and you can learn a lot about yourself when you start
Mhm.
losing weight. So I can only recommend it. But I think that already disqualifies you. I think there is like in the incel community, you would be like called a fat cell, right? Yeah,
Maybe
and
I don't
so
know. I
so
don't. I'm not in the community. You know
yeah,
more than me,
I
actually.
probably I do because I'm like recently just starting to research on all of these things. But yeah, so there is, I think, this thing in the incel community that a certain fringe group is like not even accepting fat incels as incels because they say that's not the real issue. They just have something they just have to get rid of and then they're good to go.
Hmm.
Um and the
Yeah, that
whole.
I think that definitely qualifies me. Like that is a correct assessment of
Mhm.
my condition. Then yeah, like I wouldn't lie and say, oh no, yeah. the other incel guy. I am totally not as you describe. I'm definitely never gonna fix this or whatever. I wouldn't have that attitude. I think it's at least even if it is even if I can't fix it at some point, which I don't believe I won't be. Like I think I will be able to fix it at some point, but um, even if I couldn't, that would be on me. I don't think like this description of like as someone who is completely hopeless
Mm-hmm.
would apply me on me because it just seems like a incapacity on my end, not a condition that is thrust upon me, which I think a lot of incels feel like. I don't
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What, nonetheless, like that's like this distinction that we made there is like something that inside the community is being done. Do you feel like this distinction is also being done by the rest of the world, by the outside?
what distinction exactly?
This distinction between having a concrete condition to point to, like weight,
Oh,
um, and like this two category involuntary celibacy. I don't think in the social context, like I don't think in mainstream media we do that. We make this distinction, or do you think there is a distinction being
well,
made?
I don't know. Yeah, they might not. I don't follow it too closely to say, but I think yeah, I would assume that there is no such distinction people make, but there might be a major distinction. Although I'm curious on this, right? So let's consider someone who is ugly versus someone who is fat. I don't consider myself in the ugly category, right? But let's consider someone who's ugly and short, right? Like whatever. That seems to be another thing. Um, I'm like average, I think, whatever, in height. Um, in if that person who is short and ugly got jacked, right? Very, very like really. They went to gym a ton, and they
Mm-hmm.
started wearing great clothes. Um, I'm not saying that it would immediately fix their problems, but I don't know how to how which extent that would be hopeless, right? Like even in that given scenario of someone who is ugly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So um, it might just require more effort on their part than on my part as a fat person. Like it seems like
Mm-hmm.
the threshold is higher for them than for me. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I
but I
mean,
don't know.
for a lot of incels, not even the threshold would be higher. It would be impossible, basically. Like
Well,
I'm
it
pretty
would.
short.
I'm not sure if that would be the case though. Like
And
a
me
lot of people
neither.
who I think
Yeah.
a ton of people who I think would consider themselves incel because they thinking that their situation is impossible. I am not so sure if it is impossible. Although I would definitely grant it's hard, and maybe like hard, definitely harder than me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think like there is for probably 95% the situation is not impossible at all and fixable. I have to say that I think that yeah, maybe we can get into that a little bit later. I want to talk about that as well. But what I would like to really know is why I make this distinction is since you seem to identify we are with you, like I feel like there is this two sides of the same coin where on the one hand you are somehow you feel like when I'm asking in a Discord voice channel, if I'm asking about incels, you feel like maybe with the right when we just apply the definition, you should be addressed in a sense, but at the same time you don't feel like part of the word at all because you don't have all the other characteristics. And
Mm-hmm.
now if we turn things around and if you ask us like when you hear people talk about incels, like not like the way I did, but maybe like in a more mainstream sense, or when you just stumble upon it, do you have the feeling like they're talking about you? Do you feel like they're, yeah? Do you feel like they're talking about you?
Oh no, I don't think I feel. I don't feel like people are talking about me when they say
Mm-hmm.
incel. Because but first and foremost, I'm not feeling hopeless. I'm not feeling terribly sad or upset or whatever. I don't have a negative, like maybe a little negative in that. Oh, it's hitting on my mind, or maybe I'm coping, whatever. Like even I'm granting like a possibility of me being delusional, but um, at the
What
back
would
of
that look
my
like?
mind,
What would such a cope
like
look like?
I don't know, like um, I can't even know. I'm just thinking like someone's possible objection. I'm not sure how it would look like. I can't really formulate that kind of
Mm-hmm.
argument.
I
But
mean,
hmm,
we have like a few things like angry and hateful towards society in general. Like that's like do you you said before that you don't feel that anger towards anyone, so probably that's why
well,
you
I
wouldn't.
might feel like an anger and hatred towards society, but it won't be because of my relationships. Like I might
Mm-hmm.
have like a like political belief or whatnot that might push me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Like I don't think that's going to be my personal relationship or lack thereof. Um, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a me problem overall. That's how I perceive it. It seems like a thing I can solve. I feel in control, although like not like I feel in control of the situation, but I'm not in. I don't feel in control of myself. You know, that's how I would describe it. So it would be a that kind of distinction for me.
What do you mean by how would you make that distinction? So you mean you are not disciplined, but how in what sense are you controlling the situation? What do you mean?
Like if I had like complete willpower, right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
say I had an absolute willpower.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could go to the gym. I could diet and I could lose the weight. I could maybe muscle up, right? I could get to a position of status if I study in certain things other
Mm-hmm.
besides just, all of this like gym and whatever, losing weight. And all of that I think would incredibly increase my chances. I don't think it would be, but it seems like it's like I'm not sure if I can like do it so easily. Like that's not an easy thing to do. All of these,
Mm-hmm.
um, like I feel like that's what I mean with I feel I'm in control, but I'm not sure I'm controlling myself, kind of thing. That's what I mean, like
Okay, I
that
see.
distinction.
Yeah. So for you, it's basically like, yeah. How do you feel when you see like a fat person that has low status having a pretty okay girlfriend?
Um, I do have to say I will immediately think of, well, um, is this a charity thing kind of thing? I'm not gonna
Really?
lie. That I might actually think that, but like I'm open to the idea that someone can just find love with while being fat. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just like a very uncommon thing. I might not like. I might actually think that. Like.
Yeah. So pity, like you would say it's pity.
Yeah, maybe it's pity, maybe it's genuine, but my mind wouldn't immediately jump to, oh, it's genuine, right? Like
Yeah.
I won't lie
You're
with
like the complete, yeah, you're like the most anti black pill person ever then probably.
that. Why?
Right?
How is that the case?
I
I
mean,
don't
like
know.
you're like the exact opposite of the black pill. You're like you're like basically completely saying that everything's in your control and that you can fix your situation in a pretty easy manner, and at the same time you are not seeing women as um yeah, you're basically seeing, when you see an example that is shaking your belief system, then you're basically not going to the not making the woman, blaming the woman for it, but you're basically you're not suspecting the woman for that she's like has some ulterior bad motives, but you're actually suspecting her to have altruistic good motives to support someone.
Well, to be fair, like it could be like when I say charity case, I don't mean it's like it's a good thing, right? I'm not actually meaning it in a maybe maybe the woman might think it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like so for the sake of this conversation, I'm assuming it is like a charity thing or like it's not a genuine relationship, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of it. Like I said, it is possible. I will suspect it. Um, so, given that it is not the case that it's a genuine relationship, I think the woman is one doing a disservice to herself, maybe, but definitely doing a disservice to the man in that given scenario. So it's not the case. I think, like, oh, she is. A really good person for dating like
Mm-hmm.
a fat guy. Like I
Okay.
don't consider that a good thing
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like sometimes it's a sometimes I can think of multiple ways it's like not genuine that is harmful. Like let's say it's easier, right?
What
Oh, I
what's
have the relationship under control. The man is basically a slave to me or whatever.
mm-hmm.
Like I am the person who is bringing the value. They have to work very hard to maintain this relationship, and I can control the relationship as I wish.
Mm-hmm.
Like that might be
Mm-hmm.
another. That might be one. The other is a kind of insulting thing where it's like, um, oh, I am so altruistic. I'm self-sacrificing in a way that I'm dating someone much below my value, right? And it's very demeaning in the sense that it's actually looking down on the man. It's not actually putting any value to the man, whoever is in that relationship. It's the woman isn't having anything that is positive coming from it other than her satisfaction over feeling so altruistic, but there isn't an actual value that's coming out of the relationship. So in that sense, I don't think it's a positive thing if it's not genuine,
Mm-hmm.
right? It might be a charity case in the quote unquote like it's almost like a savior complex. You know, that's what I mean by charity case. It might be like I'm so much better than everyone kind of attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. So I like this was only assuming that was the
Yeah,
case,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't.
But it's still okay. Now I still found some black pilledness in you because I think it's really interesting that there is not a third option is not possible that um he has like certain character like I see women really a little bit differently. Like the way I see women, I feel like a lot of the black pill space is like projecting men's sexuality on women's sexuality. So, and I
Mm,
think that men's sexuality is really different than women's sexuality. We're talking about heterosexual sexuality, like right now.
mhm.
And we're making huge generalizations. So I'm just
Yeah, 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 yeah.
like
Yeah, I'm taking it for granted.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the, my experience has been that men are we are way more visually oriented, and if you look at women, it's way more about everything around sex rather than sex itself. So
Mhm.
when you look at, for example, pornography for women, like a lot of it is books, which is like for men would be like pretty hard to get off on books, you know. But for women, it's that's just like a general trend that you can observe. And also in my personal experience, like I don't think any of my girlfriend when they first saw me, they thought, "Oh my god, he's so handsome. He's so." I'm pretty. I'm not that tall. I'm pretty short. I'm bald. You know, I'm not ugly,
Well,
but I
you
mean,
do have a nice baldness, though. Like you have a good head shape, I should say.
thanks. I heard that many times, but still, like I mean, there's lots of in many of my girlfriends have had the possibility to date guys that were like really tall, jacked, you know, like good physique and handsome. but they chose me over them, and so and I've seen that so many times. Like my cousins were like, my older cousins are pretty good with women, I would say, like way better than me, and uh, I never saw them like getting the girls with their looks. Like it was always like being a good talker, being a good communicator, like rizzing them, like having good
Yeah, yeah.
charisma, you know, like so when I'm seeing like a fat guy or a really ugly short guy having a really beautiful girlfriend, I'm like, motherfucker, what are you like? What are you doing? Like something must be like, you must have something else, like something that must be going good for you. Like either you're like a really charismatic guy, you make her laugh all the time, she has like so much fun with you, and or you're a really intelligent dude, or you're a gangster who's like really has doesn't give a fuck about life, you know, which can also be attractive to some girls that have some trauma in life or some socialization.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I never think
yeah.
like not, I never, basically never think that it's a charity case. Like I know that
Okay.
exists. I know that these types of relationship exist definitely. I've seen
Well,
it. Like
I should say, I'm not considering like someone, let's say, who is dating, like, let's say a woman who is really high status dating average to low status man. I don't think that's a charity case, but like if it is like um most what like there's a distinction I think between, oh, this guy isn't particularly attractive, but he can get a date, versus, okay, this guy, I don't ever expect him to get a date, but he's got a really hot girlfriend. You know, I think there is like a mountain of difference there, where I only would attribute a charity case to the latter,
mm-hmm.
not the former. Like I don't think, like, if someone is um average looking, more maybe like below average in some regard. I'm not saying you, right, but you were giving the example from yourself
Yeah, yeah,
perspective, right?
yeah, yeah.
um I don't think like 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 given I don't know how you used to look. I don't think you look bad right now,
Mm-hmm.
but like give if you used to look poor, but like you used to look bad, it doesn't necessarily mean any girlfriend you're going to get is not going to be genuine. But it's also like uh, imagine someone like do you know Boogie 2988 or whatever, like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
YouTuber? Like
yeah,
imagine someone as fat as him, right?
yeah,
You won't expect that kind of fat person to get a date so easily. I'm
yeah. He
not
has
that
a
fat, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Mm-hmm. Good to know.
like
Like you're not you yeah, but because I think that's a big distinction. Like I think the moment where the fatness becomes like a handicap in life, I think that's like that's another level of yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, I'm more. I would say I am in the obese category, but like
Mm-hmm.
in the starting position of that
Mm-hmm.
category, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah. You should be careful,
Um,
man. It's like
yeah,
it is
yeah,
an addiction, bro. It isn't like being fat is an addiction like every other addiction. I don't see any difference to
right.
any other addiction. I have an addictive personality. Like I get addicted very fast to things, and I also have my. I always have to watch my weight because I constantly overeat, and I really like just to stay like this. And I'm still like I have a belly and some fat in my face. Like I'm by no means at the good body fat percentage, but I think that yeah, it is a deeper issue, and maybe if you
Yeah, yeah.
tackle it,
I agree with the. I also probably have a addictive
yeah,
personality. I try to abstain from every new thing. Like I don't even
yeah,
watch short form content. I don't like this stuff like
yeah,
TikTok or whatever, because I know like if I do get into it, I'll
yeah,
just be scrolling my days off, and I don't want that.
exactly, exactly. Um, what do you still? Yeah, so actually, I wanted to get into the concrete ideologies of yeah. So one big thing that I see so problematic, like many of the things that I hear on the black pill side, and that's what I meant by you being like having a certain amount of black pilledness, is this hyper focus on looks, like also the way you talk about like fixing your problem, and it might as well be like that. That like I don't want to take that's not at
Mm-hmm.
all. I'm not even contesting it, but I feel like there is a hyper focus on looks, which is in and of itself in my generation as a man being so hyper focused on looks was like the most unmanliest thing you could do, basically, like, right?
Mm.
And now you have
Okay.
this new generation of like young men who basically define masculinity by looks, or define their identity a lot about looks.
Yeah.
Where would you see yourself in that spectrum, and what do you think about it?
Well, um, well, it's one thing I would say. Yeah, I would describe it this way. I think there is a very uh, there's a course correction, maybe overcorrection, right? Like I think prior to nowadays with the incel whatever shit, um, people were really delusional with how men can succeed. I don't think a ton of men like. And it just like reality coming crashing down kind of thing. Like there was a narrative of looks don't matter, like, or at least there was a push for that kind of attitude. And it's like a reality check. No, it does matter, and like that it might be a course correction the other way. I think like for me, I don't. I think it's a ton of it will have to do with chemistry actually, but like um, get it, getting your foot in the door is definitely related to looks, and it's not like for you to have a chance, you need to have a certain at least like passable look. I think that's what I would consider. Like there would be, I wouldn't say I define myself by looks, right? I don't care about being like a 9, 10, whatever. Kind of, I don't have that kind of striving towards perfection attitude. I do think, however, there's like a threshold of like minimum expectation, right? Like I think that threshold, like I would rather be above that threshold, and then I don't think I care about like, for instance, with who I would date. I don't think I care as much for the looks as I do, as most other people might. Because I don't know, there's things that attract me that are not that. Um, I don't know.
That are not what?
Looks, you know,
Ah,
like
okay.
um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like so, in that regard, I don't think I would be super into it, but I do think like it's like I think it was like an reality that was ignored, and that came to came back as like a like you
So
can't like really ignore the reality.
so you would say that it's a reality that was ignored. You wouldn't say that there has been any change or shift in the woman's
Oh,
perspective?
well, there might be. So I think there is with dating apps, right? I think that it's like the make when it's easy, the access is easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you will have much more attention easily available to you, like be it social media, whatever. That
Mm-hmm.
might change your uh, focus, like shift your attention, whatever that kind of thing. But I don't think like definitely I don't. So there was a course correction. It might have been overcorrected. Like I said, I think it might be over um, emphasized nowadays. Like
Mm-hmm.
how much looks might matter.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely like let me put it this way. I don't think you will have a successful relationship that can last long or fulfilling on the basis of looks alone. I don't think you can
Mm-hmm.
possibly do that. So in that regard, it's not going to be. But I think a lot of people over focus on it in that regard. I think in a relationship, um, you probably will care about it at some like to some extent internally, even if you don't like think about it. You will care about the looks some to some extent, but
Of
you don't have
yourself
to
or
think
the other
about it.
one?
The other one,
The other one. Mm-hmm.
talking. Like your partner, you'll care about their looks, I think, but like it's going to be mostly like an internal thing and I don't think you need to think more on it especially for your partner. Okay, I need to have this like checklist or whatever. I don't think you should have that kind of attitude. Like just explore. If you don't feel attracted, you don't attract it. Yeah, like that's fine. But like if I think there is going to be there seems to be some overcorrection. I do think so. Maybe I don't know. It's possible at least. Yeah.
I mean, for
So
me, yeah,
hmm,
I'm
go
pretty
ahead, go ahead.
sure. I'm pretty sure that for you, for example, I'm 99% sure that for you losing weight would not be the only way you could get laid. I mean, like not even like in the sense of uh one time, but I mean like in a general way of you having a good amount of interest coming your way. I mean, there is like just as an example, like playing in a band at some bar, in, you know what I mean, like just that, even if you're like severely obese or whatever, like I don't know how what your looks are, but like it doesn't matter. I feel like you could, of course there is, it's going to boost your looks are always going to boost everything. It's going to amplify it, but it's not going to change your whole life. I don't think so. Like, especially since as a man you also have to be a minimum amount of generally a minimum amount of offensive, like in a sense of um asking somebody out or initiating sex or first kiss and stuff like that. So uh yeah, so the problem is that we are now right now living in a society that has brought dating and meeting people in a world where there is only looks, like, which is like the digital world. So you have like a lot of dating going on and on Instagram, or like people meeting each other on Instagram or even Tinder, and that world is like completely based on looks and pictures. So but I don't think that has changed the way people find their, or the way women find men attractive at all. I think I for myself have basically said to myself, like, I wouldn't want to date over Tinder. That, like, I don't think that over Tinder someone is going to see me for the way I think. I will always have a better chance in person, in real life, because that's just my
Definitely.
experience. Yeah. But there
I,
might be
I I
other
would
people,
expect that too.
and there might be other people that have better chances when they just show their looks, and then when they start talking there's some problem. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think the hyper focus on looks is pretty toxic and wrong. But you are right when you're saying, and that's also one problem I have with the social commentary about blackpill or incels. You have some people who are so severe, like they have so severe looks problems, that it makes it really, really, really hard for them. Or they have so severe mental health problems, or yeah, mental problems, that make it like really, really, really severe for them. Like really almost impossible. What
Hmm.
do you think? Do you think society acknowledges that enough? Or do you think this is just like we're just telling everybody to go to the gym and get checked?
Um. Well, I don't know. I don't have a pulse on it. I guess. Mm, I think you're right to some extent, but mm, it seems like at least that is something that's plaguing a ton of people's problem. Like that seems to be a ton of people's problems too. I'm guessing there's a lot of people who have been raised on the internet in the past like like generation. I would say, and those people might have like what was the word, sedentary, whatever, like stable, like not moving, not like very
Mm-hmm.
stationary
Stationary.
lifestyles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to them, that seems to be the best advice. And like, I don't know. What do you think is the best advice in that? Like, if that it seems like gym is the best advice. That's how I consider it, right?
Gym is a
But
pretty
what else?
pretty pretty good advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think that's the best advice we have at least. What else is a good advice? I guess like learning how to like maybe clothes like fashion is a important one that we ignore. That might be a thing. Like I think how you wear clothes that might matter. Um, I expect it to at least, but I don't know.
I mean, gym is a really
But
good one because it applies to everybody, right? And fashion is a really
mhm,
good one as well because it applies to everybody. So you can always improve something by going to the gym and maybe buying yourself something nice, you know.
mhm,
But I think
yeah,
the I mean, let's talk about the cases. Like, I think there's like three cases, like, or maybe let's say two cases. So there's one part of the people that we're talking about that is like where I would say, dude, do X, Y, Z for a long enough time and you'll be fine. You'll totally be fine. Like, don't worry about it at all. And there's other people where I know, like, no matter how much they're going to do in their life, that's like a very, very small percentage. Like, I'm really talking like a very, very small percentage of people where I know that no matter how hard they try, um, either they're not gonna get what they want, or they're gonna be in a situation where they're gonna be taken advantage of, and like the way you described it, I think earlier with the where just one person just uses them for control, basically.
mhm.
Um, and I think we should just acknowledge that exists, and I think it must be horrible, like yeah, I don't know, like, and also not only that, like there's also varying degrees of how much you have to do, right? Like for you it might just be like going to the gym for 2 years, but for somebody else it might be getting a steady income, fixing your psychological issues, fixing your problems with trusting people. Like lots of mental health shit is going into that. I think that's being ignored on all sides. Like, right, like both the black pill side, the incels are ignoring that part, and also the people that are criticizing incels are like completely ignoring that a lot of it is like unresolved issues that people have and that make other people freak out about them. And
Mm.
then one, so first of all we should acknowledge that there is cases where we just have to find some other solutions to make these people happy, right? And stop like giving them like these general advices. So just just to not make somebody suffer their whole life, you know. So and then that's a very, very small amount. But then there is the thing, you might go just have to go to the gym for 2 years, but somebody else has to do like so much work on themselves and go through basically through hell. Even you maybe going to the gym for 2 years can also be going through hell and exercising and dieting. So then also the acknowledgement needs to be there that you just have to say, yeah, I know it's unfair. It's not fair that you have to, like, other people just get it gifted basically to them, and you have to struggle so hard just to,
Oh, definitely. Like that's a recognition like
yeah,
that needs to be made. Yeah, like I
yeah,
mean, it is um like broadly life's not fair, and that's not by society. It's just by nature, like not fair.
exactly.
Like if I'm born, like let's say in like pre societies, like or like very primitive societies, right? If I'm born next to a river versus a tribe that's been like I guess a hunter gatherer, right? Like if I'm born into a river settlement, I'm already just by borning into a river settlement, like I have a higher chance of survival. Like just on a basis, like it's just a birth lottery in that regard. Like so, if I am, if I'm born in Middle East as
Yeah,
opposed to I don't know, a first world country,
yeah,
that's going to impact a ton of things. Like it
of
seems
course.
like a ton of it is unfair, and
Yeah.
it's not society's fault that it is unfair. It's just how it is.
I mean, no,
Um,
but yeah, but I feel like the big frustration that these that the black pill, for example, has, or many in these communities have, and also a lot of the hatred, is that we as a society are not even acknowledging that unfairness. Like, we're basically saying that it's a non-issue, that they should stop complaining, and that they're not entitled. Like, one thing I hear a lot, which really annoys me, is like this idea of you're not entitled to sex. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, yeah, shouldn't, yeah, of course we shouldn't, like, um the taxpayer shouldn't have to pay for you going to a prostitute. Yeah, true. And also, we cannot force anyone to love you or to want to be your girlfriend. But I think that sexuality is a really big part of the human, like, of the human condition and of the human existence. And just like saying that it's no issue is, I think, not 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 empathetic, and not, yeah, it's cruel, I think, to say that. Would you agree?
I don't know. I actually agree with the notion that you're not entitled to sex. I think, um, I think that's like think on it this way, right? There is always going to be somebody, that will not be able to get laid in their life, and like that's just by sheer big numbers. Like how, like just how, however many people there are, it's just going to be
Yeah,
the
true,
case.
true.
Some people are born with terminal illnesses.
Yeah,
Some people are born with incurable, like lifelong diseases, right?
yes,
And you're born with ugliness, like
yes.
tough luck. But like,
Yeah,
I
but
it also isn't the case.
it,
Like
I'm
someone owes you something
no
because of that.
yeah, exactly. No, I don't think that that's fine. Like, nobody owes you. I don't even know who would owe you. But
Yeah.
there is that's a big leap from saying nobody owes you to it's not sad, or I cannot show
Oh, it
empathy
is
for
sad.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
if
Okay.
you so if you have a 14-year-old who is going to die a virgin because he's not able he's too young or something, and he's like, I never had sex, like, I never experienced that's sad, like, right? Like, that's really sad that he was not able to have that experience, right?
Okay.
So, and
Well,
we,
it
yeah.
is. It is sad, but like, let's consider it this way. Let's say I am, a very furious incel, right? It could also be the case that I consider, whenever you say, "Oh yeah, it's sad and there's nothing we can do about it," like I'm like, oh, take your fake pity and go away. Like that seems like another thing that would upset me, right? Would it not be the case? Maybe it could be. Like
Yeah, but
I
that would
don't
be
think that's.
that would be your problem, right? Like, that would not be my problem. Like I can't. I'm just not. I guess I'm furious at the way that the reaction to it. I'm furious
Mhm.
about that. Like, someone is like complaining, or someone is obviously not feeling good about themselves and about the way they're being pursued, and we're like, so what, man? Not a big deal. And I'm like, man, sex is kind of a big deal, like when you look
Mhm.
at it psychologically, it is kind of a big deal. Like, and it's also like in the same category as food and sleep and stuff like it's a very basic thing, like, that is starting on also pretty early. I mean, just saying it's not a big deal feels really dishonest, you know
Hmm. All right.
um
Okay. I understand where you're coming from in that. I don't know. Maybe recognize you should. So your point is like we should recognize it. I'm not sure what recognizing does to help. Like I don't know. Like in that regard. Um. Or maybe like, oh yeah, this person is upset. Okay. And it also is like maybe it's. Do you know how it? How would I describe this? So I would consider myself very ableist. I'm sorry, but like that is something I would consider myself as. Like, I don't think I have much patience with people who have mental disabilities, for
Mm-hmm.
instance. Um, and it's not like I understand that some people care for them, and I would never wish to stop people who wish to care for mentally disabled people. But like, it is also a big ask for from anybody to just like be super patient, super have perfect understanding of mentally disabled people, right?
Wait,
In
can you
that
remind me of the definition? What do you exactly mean when you say I'm an ableist? Just so we're on the
like
same page.
in this context, I mean, like, I have very low patience of very mentally disabled people.
Of
Like,
really mentally
uh,
disabled people.
yeah, or like just like sometimes children, but like
Okay.
not really.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It depends. Like, if I'm telling you to not do something, and
Mm-hmm.
it is understandable why you cannot understand why I like if I'm telling you to not do something and you keep on doing it, and it's understandable why you cannot like respect my boundary. Like, yeah, okay, I understand it, but I'm not going to be happy about it, and I'm not going to have the patience for it for a very long time. That's how I perceive
Mm-hmm.
it as. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
it's fine if there's a person who is super patient. Good on them. Like, they should, they should be the ones who take care of those kind of people. I don't want to be near them. Like, mentally retarded people tend to be very touchy, very whatever. Like, I don't want to be near those kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it is a big ask from me, for instance, to be always taking care of or being super empathetic, super nice to mentally retarded people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is also a big ask from people, for women, some women at least, to be super kind, super nice to incels who are furious and angry. Like, who are not being able to express their, uh, you know, problems in a way that is not also blaming and insulting women. And I think, like, in that regard, sure, I think there's a space for some group of people who are capable of being nice to those kinds of people. But it's also like a huge ask to demand that from broader society. I think that's how I would perceive it.
I'm not sure, like, um yeah, that brings me actually, like, the thing you're pointing to is actually, do you think that there is even a societal issue that we have to tackle there? Because if you're saying we don't have to do that, like, why should we have to put up with their problems, basically, right? Then I mean, then I can already tell, like, that you have a more individualistic approach to how society should be or how society is, right? um but then if I try to view, that's not my lens, that's not the way I see it, but if I try to view it through your lens, don't you think that at least that there is such a big societal issue right now in the world with incels in general, or social outcasts? I don't know if you've heard about the hikikomori in Japan. Um,
Yeah, that makes
with
sense too.
Yeah, so even if you don't think that you have to put up morally, which I think you have to, like, in a good society, I think that will be the moral or ethical thing to do. What we mean by putting up, let's put that aside for a second, but if we just view it through your lens, don't you think that there is a societal issue that we're tackling this societal issue in a different way than we have done compared to what we do right now? Don't you think that's necessary? Do you
Um,
see a societal issue?
when can you be brought more specific than like,
Yeah, I
so
mean,
like I can recognize that there are people who are not happy and suffering,
mm-hmm,
right? But I consider that to be a thing for many things, and I don't know. Like, we have doctors to cure illnesses, right? We don't demand the society to treat sick people, right? We have doctors for that kind of thing. We have generally a group of people who are capable of having that kind of thing,
Yeah, but
tackle that kind of
yeah,
attitude.
yeah.
So, in my perspective, it would be really good if we had, let's say, boot camps of sorts, like for young men who would need, like for me, like in my for any type of addiction, it would be really good to have interventionist mechanisms
Mm-hmm.
that is um, somewhat like understandable, like how would I say it? Like boot camp or some other like you go off to another place where you're tasked with doing simple tasks that give you good habits. You
Yeah,
know, like that would be a good thing. That would be a good way
but
of handling it, in my perspective. But I don't think that's the business of the person who is going down the street. You know, it's not their job to form that boot camp. That's how
yeah,
I
yeah,
see
yeah.
it.
But what I rather mean is that I think that the reason people become that way comes from society, right? So I think that a lot of like this hyperfixation on looks, or this social pressure, like that creates like this there is a huge social pressure, especially on young people, on how to look like, on having a girlfriend, and on how your girlfriend should look, and all of these things, right? So I think many of the I think our society is producing incels. That's what I basically mean. And what
Mm-hmm.
my question was is, should we maybe stop doing that, right? Like, should we maybe, like, do you think that there is a societal issue there, in a sense of that we are producing, like, that our societies are basically incel factories, and
Well, I
we do
mean,
that more and more?
I think this way. What is like the prescription that is not also impeding on someone else's life? You know, um, like like can I have? Is it fine for me to have personal judgments? Right? Like, can I judge people on my own mind? Is that allowed? I think that is a very simple thing that we allow people to have, right? Personal judgments. Oh, I don't find this person attractive, right? Okay,
Sure.
like that's not a evil thing in on its face to have. Like, oh, I don't personally perceive this person as attractive. So in that regard, what is the prescription? Like, it's fine. Like, I would agree to some degree. Like, yeah, we are producing in cells. That might be the case, but what is like a prescription that doesn't impede on other people? You know, like
No, 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 no,
some of the
no. I don't
prescription,
mean. I
some
don't
of the
mean.
prescription. Like, I know this isn't your position, but like
Yeah.
given like, have you ever heard of like what do you call a statement that girlfriends thing? Like that seems like an
No.
absurd position, right?
That is an
Like,
absurd position.
yeah. So
But no,
that's not a positive.
I don't mean we I don't mean society produces incels by not having sex with them. That's not what I mean. I mean society is producing incels in a sense that you have a lot of people that do not meet the minimum threshold, like that they are so far away from the rest of the society in
But
certain ways. For example, it could be psychologically, right? So you have somebody who has so big psychological issues or communicational issues that they're not able to have a to create meaningful rapport with another person, to have good conversation and stuff like that. And those are, in my opinion, social issues. Like, and it's not a
okay, but
coincidence that we have that more than ever. And
okay, but
secondly, the way that normally in an older society, like, or different society, would not suggest to that person in that situation that looks are the thing that they have to change, right? So in that sense, we're society is preventing that person from curing themselves and finding the right solution. Do you know what I mean?
um, so here's the problem I'm seeing, right? Like, it is what you're saying is it is society's fault for not for um or like maybe not. I don't want to misword it, but like basically, it's not. So the standards are, for instance, like the given standard, any given standard. is having that like creating this issue, right? But like that standard is, like I said, a very simple thing. It's just one person having a particular opinion. Now you might think like that one person doesn't matter, but it matters in a scale. But each of these people are just individuals who have like, okay, I personally perceive these traits as, or this person is attractive and that person is unattractive, and we consider all of these to be acceptable things, right? It's not possible for us to change the entire society's perception of beauty,
No, that's
right?
not
Like,
what I mean. That's not. No, you don't
okay,
understand. No. That's not what I mean. I give you an example. Okay, it's a really easy example. You have someone. I don't believe that. Like
but
you
hold on.
have.
Let me actually try to get what I mean by this. Like,
Okay, go on.
um, if it is the case, like what is the cause of this problem? Is it the case of having it, like I'm having a mental picture that is having giving me a trouble, um, even if it isn't not being able to get laid, like even if that wasn't the problem, right? The problem isn't me not being getting laid, right? Like that isn't the problem. But what is the problem? It is people having standards, no? Like, isn't that what you're describing? Am I misinterpreting that?
Yes. The
Okay.
standards. I think. Yeah. The problem is like this. I think that society is contributing. There has always been a certain amount of people that were not meeting society standards, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
been like this for forever. If we look, for example, mm, genetically, I think it's just like 30% of males um have continued their genes or something like that. So it's like even in the past, like a lot of men have not um participated in reproduction. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but then for like 200, like the last I don't know how many years, we have monogamy. Not 200 years, sorry, way more. So we have monogamy, and at that time, in this short time period, everybody was able to basically reproduce more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is that this is being broken up more or less again, like in the last 50 to 60 years. Mm, and we're back to the old model, basically, where not everybody is able to find a partner just like easily. When you look at the traditional family, like the traditional ways, it was like you have a village of people or maybe a couple of villages, and everybody at some point like is being married to somebody else, right? So everybody finds a partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And still in our in we both come from a Middle Eastern culture, and it's still many places it's like this, right? So, but in modern
Mm-hmm.
society, that's not the way it is. It's more the way it used to be before we had monogamy. Um, and it seems like it makes people like young men have difficulties to find somebody to partner up. And the reason for that is that now the question is, what's the reason for that? And one of there is like basically two possible reasons. One reason could be that they're just not meeting a certain threshold to be considered as a mate. Um, and the other one, which is, for example, proposed by some scientists, some scientists disagree, but like the roughly the 80-20 rule, where like 20% of very high value men, quote unquote, have like 80% of the woman, and all of the like these 80% of women are want these 20% of males, and the rest of the males have to split the 20% remaining 20% of women between themselves, and many of the men stay without any partner at all. So that's like, or it could be that we don't have any threshold. But in okay, that's the way we can look at it, and we can look at it like this. If we say, okay, we are now away from monogamy and we will just stay the way we are right now, we're not going to go back, right? Then we should maybe at least societally deal differently with the man that remains single. It maybe doesn't make sense. If we believe in the 80-20 rule, it maybe doesn't make sense to tell them, hey, just be better, you know? Because there is always going to be somebody who's going to drop off. If you get better, you're basically throwing somebody else out of the top 20%, right? You know what I mean? It's just a relative thing. So it doesn't make sense to tell them to get better, because if they get better, they're just going to throw somebody else out of the top 20. So there's always going to be a huge amount of men who are going to be left alone. So that advice doesn't make sense in a societal way. If we don't choose that path, and if we say, okay, it's a threshold, it's a certain threshold that we have to achieve, and this threshold is not met, which also I see a lot of good arguments for, then I think that the many of the reasons why the threshold is not met are societal, which is communication and mental health. And when we're talking about the solutions, trying to get out of these problems, the hyperfixation on looks, which is also something that is being propagated by society. So however I look at it, I feel like there is an underlying existing thing, but society is making things worse, basically, for the people. You know what I mean? So it makes the situation of the people worse. It not regarding getting laid, but how they feel about not getting laid, and also how they might try to get out of the situation. So I'm not saying that society is making them not get laid, or society has to provide them to get laid, but I think society has to stop sabotaging them, basically. You know what I mean? And making them miserable about themselves.
Okay. And
I've talked for a long time. I don't know. Did you understand what I mean? Like, did you understand the
I
difference?
broadly agree. Agree. Fine. But like the main problem really comes down from, in my view, like maybe, yeah, you know what? I agree. I will say I'll agree. It just seems like but I don't think it's a super difficult problem to fix. It seems more like a problem of education, right? It seems a simple problem in that you just need to have some people who would have a more dismissive attitude to be like, hey, look, these are the things that needs to be considered, right? That seems like uh, that's what I mean, like simple fix in that regard, but like not to say, like, how would, because like, so why is it the case that people tell people to go to the gym? It's because it's a general advice that works for most people. It's not the case that their problems only lie in looks, right? But if some random person comes up to you, right, like let's say on Discord, internet, whatever, or some other place, usually people don't talk on this street for about these topics randomly, but some random stranger comes up to you and says, "Hey, look, I have these problems, these feelings, right? Or I'm an incel, this or that." Um, you won't know the exact condition for their mental problems, right? And you can't
Sure.
give an advice on what you don't know, right? You don't know their mental problem, you don't know their communicational problem, so you can't really give an advice in relation to how to help them, like but gym is a simple one that applies to most people.
And I would always
So
say it.
you
I would always still
uh-huh
say it, because it's gym is not only good for the way you look, it's also good for the for your psychology. Like, it's also good for your brain, like for your mental
yeah.
health. So it's always a
So
good
in
advice.
that,
I'm not saying you shouldn't say that. Like, you should say that.
yeah, but like is it somewhat physical reductionist, maybe, but like the other part is more complicated, and average person cannot give advice on that.
Yeah, no. I'm. If somebody gives advice, I'm totally fine with it, as long as they don't like. Yeah, as long as they don't
Oh,
say,
so
"Come on,
your
man, you're gonna
attitude
be
is
fine."
like people don't even have the care for it. Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, in that
I
regard
mean,
I would agree. I think it seems like a ton of people are very lonely. I agree then. Yeah,
yeah.
ultimately.
Who do you believe in the 80/20 rule, or in the do you think, yeah, do you think that if you lose the weight, we just assume now that if you lose the weight, you're gonna get hella late, okay?
Okay.
Do you think that's because of the 80/20 rule, and you have now come into a section of society, like it doesn't have to be 20%, and even the scientists that talk about 80/20 rule, they don't say it's really 80%, 20%, it's something like 20%, 60%, or something like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
doesn't matter. Like, do you think that you have climbed up the social the value ladder high enough to come into a top X percentile, and now that's why you're getting late? Or do you think that you are now above a certain threshold, and everybody who's above that threshold, no matter how many people, that like, do you think you've just stepped above a threshold,
So
or do you think you're in a percentile?
so so this is a problem with the question I'm having. So are we assuming if I just lose weight and then I get mad pussy, that's because like
Yeah, we assume
80?
that now.
Okay, if that is assumed, then I would probably consider that I am above the 20% threshold, like the 80/20
Mm-hmm.
threshold. If I'm getting a ton of
Ah,
like
okay. If you're getting a ton of, okay, yeah,
yeah, but if I'm getting um moderate or like reasonable, or
yeah.
like if I can get a girlfriend, really, like if I seeked it out, you
Mm-hmm.
know, then I would consider that to be just being above a threshold, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh the way I see it, I think 20 threshold may apply in this regard. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
it is so straightforward. I think it would be like this: 20% of men probably could attract 80% of women to their looks. I would probably
To
grant
the
that,
looks,
but
really,
yeah, looks, but like
just looks wise.
not
Yeah,
the rest of it, not
yeah.
the rest of the package. Like it doesn't, to me, entail that 20% of men will get 80% of women. You know, it just means they can attract the 80% of women.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and attraction isn't guarantee for relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, in
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
regard, rest of it would be probably another threshold down the line where certain people who don't even get into a possibility maybe like of relationship easily. That's how I would imagine it, I guess.
Yeah, I think I would agree that in order to get some, you have to. I mean, by definition, it is like that, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
threshold would be like to get some at all, like that would be the threshold, right? Like, so you would have some
Mm-hmm.
one, yeah, but to get a lot of attention. But I think that, yeah, I would still say that the looks part is, in my opinion, very very low for women. Like, that's just my subjective experience, I guess.
It might,
um
you might be right. I'm just saying, like, it might be the like. Here's how I conceptualize it. I probably agree that women have much lower care for attraction like than men do, like physical attraction. But I still would think like, hey, I still would think that would be the attraction. You know, like the 20% of men would still attract, and that wouldn't be enough. You know, like just being attractive wouldn't be enough to get a
mm,
relationship. But they would, 20% men would be able to put their foot in the door of 80% of women, but that wouldn't mean they could have 80% of the women in a relationship. That's what I mean. Like they would be attractive. That's an attractive as in like physically, like the way I see it in my mind is like a woman will have a certain preference, like let's say a checklist, maybe not checklist, but like that's I'm just imagining like just to simplify, imagine like a checklist, right? And 20% of men would be able to fit 80% of women's checklist. That's how I imagine. But meeting the checklist isn't automatic date. You know, oh, I consider you now. You know, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
how I see it. I don't know.
What do you think about, like, I think one more thing that is not being talked about enough, I think, is I've like seen like lots of black pill shit in the last 1 week, and one thing that I don't see discussed at all is like network, like the
You cut
amount.
out.
Oh, one thing I don't see at all mentioned in the what increases your chances of getting laid by like infinite is network, like the people you like, the amount of girls you
Oh,
just meet.
definitely.
So I've worked in during my while I was still in university, I was working as a bartender for like 6 7 years, and you get so much contacts, like you have so much contact with girls. And after that I got a job in IT and worked as a freelancer a lot, and man, you get no, like you have basically no, like practically no contact to girls in that regard, and that had a big impact on how I had to get to know girls, you know, like I had to reinvent basically finding people, getting to know people. um so I think that's a huge one, like just uh I think a club promoter who has like a very average income, very average looks, I think I'm pretty sure that he's uh getting laid more than a doctor with like, maybe not a doctor because there's lots of nurses, but guy that is like working in a bank and earning like twice what the club promoter is getting. So yeah, I think that's also something people should think about, how many girls
Oh
they
yeah,
actually meet
yeah,
in real
like
life.
having like a proximity or like community that involves like being able to talk to many people. That's just necessarily going to increase your chances.
How is
I
that for
think.
you?
I don't have much. Yeah.
Hmm.
But
Is that
it
yeah.
yeah, I have a very sedentary. I think sedentary was the word I'm looking for,
What
but
is
I don't know.
sedentary? I don't know that word.
It is like stationary. You know,
Hmm.
like uh
Yeah, maybe you get jacked and then you can't show to anybody because you don't have the network. That could, for example, be one of the problems that I could see about just going to the gym. You know what I mean?
yeah.
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 Um. All right, man. Just last question:
Yeah.
who has it better, man or woman, in our current society? What do you think? The last black pill test.
Who has a better man or woman? Mm. Um I would probably go with woman, but I don't know. Not sure. Very slightly leaning woman. Very slightly leaning woman. And that's in the past couple of years, maybe.
Mhm.
That's what I would say. Um, yeah.
And probably in the more towards the Western world, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about Eastern world. It might be even like I would have. It might be worse in some Asian countries. Even like
Hmm.
it might be clearly woman or whatever. I don't know. But so I can't comment on that. But yeah, Western. I think that's the case.
Hmm. One thing I think men should consider when they think about the easiness, like how easy it is for a woman to get sex, uh, they should consider that for us, having sex is almost always an orgasm, and
Oh
for
yeah,
them that's not the case. So
that is true.
like that's, I think, a really
I
big
forgot
one.
about that. Sure,
Yeah,
I
that's, I
forgot
think
about that.
that's a really big one, right? So it
Sure.
can be a really
The way
unpleasant shit
I heard it,
experience. Yeah.
it's like, what do you call it? Here's the analogy someone gave me. Being like a man is like being destitute and poor, and being like a woman is like being in a candy shop. But like you don't know which of these candies are fucking, what do you call it? Poison.
Yeah, poison. Yeah. Yeah, it's I think yeah. I think it makes absolutely sense that women have to be more selective, and like nature has like somehow done it such that they have to be selective, so they, yeah,
Mhm.
I think it has like evolutionary reasons. Makes sense. Like it really makes sense in a lot of ways. Maybe I'm too interpreting too much into it, but yeah.
No, that's how
Uh
I heard it put once, but yeah. Also, like with a ton of men nowadays, they just don't grow up to mature to be socially like responsible people. Now, I would even consider me in that category to some extent. So I don't think they would be great partners for certain people either. Like, so it's
mhm,
not it's one thing for them to be able to date. It's another thing to the person. It's another thing entirely. The person they are dating will be happy with the dating experience with them. You know.
mhm.
Uh, so yeah.
Okay, I still have one more question.
Hmm.
Who are there figures in public figures, intellectuals that you are reading or watching or listening to, that have helped you understand your situation or are helping you getting out of your situation? Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, let me think. Do I have any public figures? Mm. I like listening to variety of it. Like, um, uh, I like listening to a variety of people in this regard. Not because it's like reaching me, but enriching me or whatever. I don't actually care that much about it. It's just like interesting takes all around. I think there is like some reactionary right wingers I hear that are interesting, and then I also listen to some black people that is interesting, and then I also listen to some white people that is interesting. It's
Can you
just
give me
like
some names? Just drop some names because I
sure.
um
So the person I'm thinking about, the reactionary right winger, is Dave Green. I think he goes by the Distributist on YouTube.
that's
Um,
so funny. That's so
it's
funny. You know why?
why
I just asked him for an interview or for a debate, actually, for a conversation.
that's wonderful.
And he said, and
Where
he
did you
was.
find him?
I watched a debate between him and Counterpoints, and I know Counterpoints through Eldrazi. Like, do you know Eldrazi? He's
I'm not sure.
not that known, but
Okay.
he's like he used to be a Destiny Orbiter. Do you know Destiny?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know Destiny.
So he used to be in the orbit of Destiny long time ago. I don't even know if he was an orbiter, but he was like a viewer definitely on his Discord channel, a mod, I think also. And now he's like in the orbit of Mr. Girl. Do you know Mr. Girl?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now he's in that orbit, and I interviewed Eldrazi for about being a streamer and being an orbiter
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And I watched a debate that he had with Counterpoints. That's how I got introduced to Counterpoints content. So I watched some Counterpoints shit because I also want to do some debates on multiculturalism and right wing ideology. And yeah, then I saw a debate between him and the dissident, and I really wanted to have a conversation with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he didn't want to do it, and I don't have a problem with him not wanting to do it, but he was really really weird about it. Like I wrote him like what I wanted
I
to
know
do.
that
Yeah.
I know that he really hates counterpoints as a person. I
Mm-hmm.
think like he doesn't like him. If you mentioned it, maybe
No, I
that's
didn't
set him off.
mention.
I don't know.
No, no, no,
Okay, okay.
no. I
Yeah.
basically said really
I also
openly.
don't want to say like I don't want to say like I endorse these people, right? I'm not
Yeah.
endorsing them. It's just more sort of like oh they sometimes have interesting takes on these things, but not
Mm-hmm.
like beyond that. I wouldn't even say oh they're right or they're good or whatever. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, it's just so
Uh,
funny that there was because that's the only one I wrote. I really wanted to debate, like the only right winger on the whole internet that I basically wrote to, and you just said him, so that was funny. Uh, so the dissident.
uh, that was
Who
the
else?
distributist.
The
Um,
distributors. The distributors. Dissident. No, the
yeah,
distributors.
no,
Yeah,
he's dissident right wing now, so it's fine.
yeah, yeah.
The other guy, Gerber Johnson, I think, like makes interesting other videos on this.
Gerbert's Void. Does he have a channel called Gerbert's Void?
I think it might be one of it. He has two, I think, but uh,
Yeah, I think I've seen one video of this guy.
I'll just link you the channel
Sure.
here. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I know this.
this
Yeah.
guy is interesting sometimes, and the other is what's his name? Was it Thinking Ape? I already mentioned. Thinking. I disagree most with this guy.
Thinking Ape. I think I know this too. Wait, is that a black pillar?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know this guy.
I disagree with this guy the most, but it's interesting to listen to it as well. I don't know. Beyond that, I don't know if there's any particular person. I like to. No, I don't do public people, public speakers, or whatever. Public. I enjoy philosophers more.
Okay, now you have to tell me two philosophers as well.
In this topic, that's kind of
No, it
niche,
doesn't
you know.
matter. It doesn't matter which topic.
I'm a huge Kant guy. I love Kant.
Very good.
Um,
Me too.
and and um, and Husserl. Let's go with Husserl.
Ah, nice, nice. What do you have? Can I ask what's your educational background? Do you have like? Did you finish university? Did you?
Yeah, I finished uni.
What did you study?
Game design.
Sorry, come again.
Game design.
Game design.
Yeah.
Nice. And are you currently like working? Do you have a job?
I could get a job. I did get a job for a while, but right now in the middle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice, man. That
Yeah.
sounds like you have lots of potential. I mean,
Let's hope so.
yeah.
All right.
It was definitely a pleasure talking to you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time.
All right.
I would say we stay in touch. Um,
Okay.
I will do a few more interviews, and I will really appreciate your feedback as well.
Can you send me your channel? I actually don't know.
Of course, yeah, yeah, yeah. I will send you my channel.
Or like the Twitch or whatever you have.
I just have YouTube right now. I also want to stream on Twitch, but not yet. I'll do it at some point.
All right.
There you go, man.
And I didn't get it.
There.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, bro.
Okay.
Then
Thank you.
see you. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah.